in Tokyo Disneyland Daibouken, race number 2, final week.
Yeah, we actually have racers again.
World record 27:48. Ridiculous, man. That's so fast. I haven't watched it yet.
That's like 7 minutes off of the task, right?
Yeah. There must be some new stuff by now in tech. I mean, there was a little bit that I didn't think was in the task, but I don't think the task had a lot of competition when it was being made.
Sure. I'm looking forward to when we finally get around to watching wherever we end up as the world record, because I think the run's going to be really sharp. I mean, the races have been the last race, and this race is certainly going to also be impressive to watch. But I think the world record is going to be something cool.
There's a lot of good players in this. Eric's is running away with it, though, it looks like. I don't think anyone else is sub 30 just yet.
No, I think the next closest I saw was 35.
That's still pretty damn good. I mean, it took me 90 minutes just to beat this with knowledge going in. That's so fast.
Yeah.
But yeah, the task was 20-something, 20 minutes and some change, and it was inhumanly good task. It was a really tough one to match. Well, we have 4 players for you tonight here for a race. There they are. We have Dolores, Fred, Glumbear, Eric's, and Moonberry. So I'll probably be playing Eric's audio since they got the record right now. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. They have to switch off if Eric's wraps up quickly.
Yep. Are we done?
This game doesn't seem like it has enough variability that, people are going to play too far off of their PBs. I mean, we've got people of a variety of skill levels in this race, but I think it's going to be really fun to watch. People are going to play.
Oh, can you ask Eric's if we're using his audio, he needs to pause our stream because he's playing us.
Yeah, will do. Of course, he could probably also hear you saying that right then.
Yeah, that's true. And if somebody else wants to do audio, that's fine too. If somebody wants to volunteer. So what would be? There are a couple hard parts in this run that might mess up the player, but it seems to have a really good handle on it. I'm sure the world record does some risky stuff.
Glumbear says theirs is just game audio, and Moonberry confirms the same for them.
Okay. I'll do that.
Eric's also says that he is planning to mute stream once we start, so it sounds like you'll have your pick.
Okay. Well, whenever you're ready, you can give him the countdown. I'm good to go.
Okay.
I see everything. Just let me know.
Alright, looks like we've got all 4 of them ready, so I'm going to count down.
Here we go.
Alright, so I've given them the go. Everyone should be on their way now.
Looks like it. So, wow, we're really zooming already. Jeez.
This game's really... It's just... There's a lot in your way if you just try to go fast not knowing what you're doing. But I think that this is a really interesting game to optimize and get good at. Just all of these players really becoming skilled at using the balloon to go fast. It's really impressive to watch.
For better or worse, Disney decided to put a bunch of dudes in your way on a regular... So you just have to know where they're at a little bit when you're flying around, because they did a pretty good job, I noticed, when I was trying to skip stages of walking me with birds and stuff. And if you take a hit in this game, you are tumbling, gone down, you're done, you're falling. If there's a floor, you're okay, I guess, but I mean, you're still not zooming.
Right.
Eric started a little later than everyone else, but all 4 players here seem like they have this done really well. They're all cruising.
Yeah, I think Eric started just a few seconds after, but doing just as well as the others. Everyone has already moved into the second room of stage 1. So this stage is definitely seems like the tough one to I mean, you really start to understand that the game's not just going to let you freely fly through everything. You're going to have to know what you're doing if you're going to use that.
Yep, I took it slow here because I mean, the game encourages you to take it slow, really. If you wait for that fire that Eric's just passed, it will burn through the floor, after like 15 seconds, and you can get some health. So they want you to take your time, ideally,
Right.
is what they were thinking. I mean, we're not doing that, but that's problems that have to be overcome for the speedrun.
I think the first room, you get a little bit confident, like, if I just avoid the enemies, I bet this is going to be easy. By the second room, you realize it's not going to be that straightforward. And then you realize that the balloon is used for a lot more than just jumping through levels by the third room.
Got a dream about this game and a fire and blowing up balloons. Nice. I'm glad Mickey Mouse inspires more nightmares. So if you haven't seen this game before, it's a Disney game that just didn't have that many speedruns really, and it's a Japanese-only release. It is Pete being a jerk, as he always seems to be. He's a standard bad guy. Mickey here has a gas bomb that he can throw. It's kind of like a really crappy Mega Man gun that charges up. Is the way it feels. It feels like he's just throwing an orb. And the other one is a charge. It's Rocket Knight's jetpack, really, is what it is, more or less.
We've talked a lot about technique in this game, things like how waiting to charge up a certain amount on the water meter or the gas meter increases the amount of damage you do. You'll notice that everyone is trying to charge just over the 1/4 mark on the meter, because once you charge to the 1/4 mark, you do 1.5 times the base damage. So it's a little more valuable than just trying to spam them as quickly as possible, and you can get them into a really nice stun lock.
Yeah, what is the damage is like? I don't want to say 1, 2, and 3, but it's like 10, 15, and 20.
Yeah, it's like 2, 3, 4. It's the base damage, and then you add an extra 50% if you charge it up to 1/4, and then another 50% if you charge it up to the 3/4 mark. So it's not worth it to charge it all the way up in most cases. You do more damage over time by just charging a small amount.
I think that you can stun lock the boss the way everyone did. Really shows that. Because that's just the fastest thing to do. He doesn't even attack, he just stands there and gets pelted.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of the bosses will be stun locked that way as well.
This is the first disaster of a level. It's not the only one, that's for sure, but I think it actually is one of the worst in the game. I feel like I would say that this is my least favorite area. Part 2 of this, with the rails, was pretty nasty, but part 3, despicable, with the wind.
Yeah, this is a nasty level in general. Moonberry there was feeling pretty confident. They were using the balloons to actually damage the enemies in front of them. That is not an easy technique to pull off.
Yeah, we weren't even
Moonberry
sure.
here going for the...
Wow.
Oh, wow.
The bird! Cruising.
I can't believe we're actually seeing the bird strats.
Looks like Eric's is doing it as well. Double bird. It looks really fast. I wonder if that is...
That is...
I mean, it looks
I mean,
safer,
the task just flies through the whole thing, but I have to imagine that with the small amount of time it took to grab the bird, it's got to make up for at least the human element of, you know, missing some of your balloons. Probably a hell of a lot safer, too.
Yeah, the runners definitely feel like 6-2 is the worst. I think it's because you really have to take your time there. I didn't feel like that one was so bad. 6-3 was really nasty blind because it's a bunch of blind jumps. Wouldn't bother a speedrunner probably as much as it bothered us. Neither would this wind. I don't think anyone here is going to get held up like we were on 3-3 or 2-3 here. That's the stage.
So just talking about our runners here, I believe, so Eric's in the bottom left is the current world record holder. That's the 27-minute time. Top left is Dolorous Fred, who had the 35 that I saw. I'm not exactly certain what Moonberry's time is. I'm kind of tempted to go back and look really quickly to see if I can find what Moonberry's PB is. Glumbaron's, I think, has just a sub 1 hour. I think just, or rather what I mean to say is just recently got that sub hour time. But as you can see, keeping up pretty well with everyone else.
I feel like Moonberry's in the 30s, but I can't remember for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to find specifically Moonberry talking about their time.
So you can drop the balloons as like a landmine, but it's also a bounce pad for Mickey. And you have to do that to bust the ceiling here. It's mandatory at least once. So this level...
Yeah, Moonberry also has a 35. At least the video they posted most recently.
Yeah, that's what I remember. This level is... I was talking about being nasty. If you get caught by that wind that is on screen on the top two right now, or anywhere else in the stage for that matter, you get sent all the way back. It looks like Glumbaron is going to... No, he made it. That was amazing.
That was ambitious, too.
If you get hit by that, you're done. You're going right back to the beginning with nothing gained. It's a huge waste of time.
Yeah, you can space out these water balloons just a bit more. You can definitely tell the difference between people playing it aggressive and taking it a little bit easy. You know, Eric's definitely put down a lot fewer balloons than, for instance, Moonberry did. Moonberry built almost the entire bridge.
Yeah, you know, 6-3, the level that really held us up, there wasn't really, I mean, if we drew a map of that, we probably have it memorized at this point, but it really wasn't that much of a stage. It was pretty short, and a couple of good hops and we would have been no problem. It was just the ending was all... You get hit.
Yeah, I was playing it super aggressively. I think I could cut like 40 minutes off of my next attempt just because I've played that level successfully now.
Like, I definitely had the first half memorized, and as soon as I figured out what the last half was like, I won. That was it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had a pretty commanding lead in that race, and then was convinced that I was going to go really fast in that room and didn't let myself just finish it.
Well, Eric's just pulled in front, Dolores Fred right behind on stage 3 here. This is the Log Jammer Jamboree stage. I don't know if there's a movie based on this area. I'm sure there's... I mean, there's the frog from Frog and Toad. Is that what he's... There's that Chrono Trigger's frog. Who knows who this guy is? Two Shields frog? I don't remember him.
That's Fred the Frog from Blaster Master.
I see. Is that a Battletoad? I recognize him. Yeah, Splash Mountain, the log jammer thing.
Eric getting so frustrated with this frog that he just starts chucking a balloon at him.
You have to bounce him into the spikes way too many times. 10 times. Just a mini boss guarding checkpoint.
I bet that fight is pretty frustrating to do because it's one of those ones where it's technically very easy to finish quickly. And as soon as it gets away from you, I bet it gets really in your head.
It's kind of hard to figure out where the stage ends and the next chapter of it begins in this world. I'm not really sure. There's checkpoints. There's 4 checkpoints and a boss fight, and it's kind of a long stretch and it's a little strange. It transitions, but it's not necessarily a checkpoint here. I think this whole B section is part of 3-2. Yeah,
these sections with the bees and the log rafts, this is definitely my least favorite part of the game. You were talking about how much you hated some of the parts of World 2. This is the part I really don't enjoy. This is the thing that would make me say, maybe I don't want to speedrun this game because I have to play that.
Well, Eric's took a death for health there because they must want to damage boost here as a safety concern. The number of tries up there indicates lives. It's a weird way to phrase it, but that's what that number, that big number, is lives left. And the Mickeys there is coins. It's a really strange... It's like 20 Mickey heads for a life or something. And there's a bunch of different denominations of Mickey heads, and none of them are Mickey heads. Various Disney-related things give you different values of Mickey bucks. You get into the boss with 1 health? No, we still got some log jamming to do. This place is scary. These torches are not background objects, which is really rude and killed me the first time I came through here.
Yep.
It's really easy to lose your log, and then you're dealing with nonsense. And that pit right there is an example of the biggest problem with this game.
There's a lot of that in this game, of riding some vehicle and then it just falls off at the edge. Someone thought that joke was very funny the first time it happened, and they were like, we should include one of those in every world.
You have the ability to fly and glide and float, and it doesn't work because the screen cuts off way too early, and you just end up dead before your balloon is fully powered, and you can't launch it until it's fully powered. Mickey knows better than to pop a balloon that's half full. He won't do it. He just lets himself die instead, so you never can just save yourself from a pit, unfortunately. It would feel really good if you could, but that's not really what's going to happen in this game much. You have to preload it before you jump off the edge. It has to be half charged before you jump over the pit if you really want that balloon to work. You can see Moonbear doing exactly what I'm talking about right there. Just charging the balloon. It was nearly powered before they even went forward. If you try to do it too late, like instinctually, I think people are going to try to power it up right when they start the jump, and that's not going to work. I think if you go into this game knowing that you need to charge your balloon before you jump over anything, you're gonna do a lot better just with that one piece of advice. It's just gonna save you so much trouble. These alligators are getting smoked. That was really fast. Time for World 3. World 4, actually. World 4 is Ghost Town. It's a safe spot. Yeah, it's a safe enough spot. You do have to kill all the alligators, but everyone seems to want to stand on the left, and it seems like the enemies spawn next to you anyway. You can really drop them fast. Okay, Ghost Town is a series of tasks that are obnoxious and long. There are 4 of them. We start with this little chase, which is pretty interesting, but after this is done, we have 4 rooms that have to be lit up, and each one of them is their own chore. Once that's done...
It's a video game equivalent of being assigned chores as a kid.
Yeah. We have to... I like the visual representation in this. That door has 4 lights on it, and each door has 1 light on it, and once you've cleared the door, it lights up both. So you know. And this challenge here, it's a really interesting one. What if we just build a vertical hallway that is 10 miles high? You just shoot upwards for 30 seconds. I didn't think there was a better way to do this. Here we go.
Nope. The problem is that you fall so far that you really can't gain enough height on each one. So it's more of an endurance match than it is anything. It's like, try not to miss out on one of them.
Yeah, Mickey falls too fast in this game. That's kind of what I was talking about with the pits. He falls faster than the balloon charges. So you make like 60% progress every time you balloon upwards, and you're just doing it over and over again. The goal here is to put weights on balloons to get to a switch at the end and hit it. There's a boss here, but the way to beat this boss in the speedrun seems to be to just absorb damage and stand underneath it, throwing balloons up. Not much to that.
Way easier than what I was doing.
Yeah, trying to evade all this stuff is just not effective.
I was taking just as many hits, too. I just wasn't landing the shots.
Whoever that ghost is blocks your shots with theirs, so pretty frustrating to fight. Mickey definitely falls faster than the balloon shoots downwards, so there's that gravity helping out.
It's interesting seeing Fred and Eric do it in a different order. Not that I think it probably matters what order you do it in, it's just kind of interesting how they chose what order to do the rooms in.
Here's the Kaizo hallway of the ghost house, where every painting falls on you and every floor is fake and makes you fall back to the start.
Something tells me you didn't get along with this section very well.
It wasn't so bad. I mean, it doesn't hurt you to... It's just... I just thought it was funny that they went all in on Mario-esque Mario Maker traps, the kind of baby stuff that never gets me anymore because everyone does it. They all copy the same ideas. They always make
maybe it would have tricked you if you hadn't been playing so much Mario Maker, you know?
It probably would have. Falling in the pit does set you back, so Eric's did it on purpose there. Half done already. Making these tasks a lot shorter. This took me 30 minutes. There's a ghost race here, but instead of doing the ghost race, Eric's just trying to sneak past the ghost. Really hard to do. Did it on a second try.
Yeah, so if you do this normally, you're trying to beat the ghost up to the door, because if you touch the ghost at any point, it resets the room. Which is what makes this skip so difficult, is that you have to like slide into that tunnel before the ghost gets there.
Now we're fighting statues. 3 hits apiece. They drop books on the first 2 hits, and then they fall down and try and hit you with their dead bust. They're dead bust. You can slam the air balloon into them, so that makes this way easier than what I was doing as well. Trampoline attacks are pretty slow. And that's 3. Looks like Moonberry's also going for the ghost skip. I didn't see if Dolores did it or not. Probably did.
Yeah, I haven't been watching Fred's stream well enough. I don't even know if Fred's done that room.
I think it was the room leading up to the statues. So I think they all just did it.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah, that's the room right before this one.
There's a neat tech here I saw from Moonberry. I don't see Eric's doing it where you step on one and you throw a balloon at the other switch and you just run through the door real quick. That counts. You only activate the switch for like 5 frames, but you can just run through the door real quick because the balloon didn't pop just yet. Eric's is done.
Yeah, I think that gets Eric's out the door.
So they've only opened the back door to get out of the house. The house is just an obstacle that needs to be destroyed to get to the boss. Jumping in a pit to reset the floor again to get out even faster.
We're here to murder a house.
So this part's a little precarious. There is a lot of pit stuff coming out of the pits to try and knock you down. Those Mega Man pit enemies are here. There they are. There's a way to despawn them. I think Eric's is doing it right now. There, yeah. They just don't get in the way that way. And then some really careful flying will get you across some really nasty chasms. And that's it. That was the area. Moonberry's doing what I was talking about there. With the throwing the balloon for the door.
Yeah, the door looks like it opens just long enough for you to be able to get through before you get stuck inside of its hitbox and it says, okay, well, you're through.
Yeah, it's not just these doors either. That seems like a common thing. It's constantly able to hit the button that way and just sneak through. Pete killed himself just to become a ghost to fight Mickey here, just because he's that bad of a guy. That much of a jerk. It's alright, he'll be back. He's got more tries himself.
What a rude boy.
Space Mountain. This stage is so lousy. It's so bad. The whole thing. First we start with an upwards ramp full of guys with guns that just stun you. Once you're done with that, we get to a teleporter maze. Not too bad for a speedrunner, they at least know where to go. It's still full of these enemies who are in the worst place, though. Horrible stuns, just constantly getting you. After that, we are on Space Mountain's roller coaster ride itself, which is also scary. It's pretty tedious to not know the route in here, but I'm sure all the players do. There's just a bunch of fake teleporters that just annoy you with enemies instead of taking you forward.
Exactly.
Looks like everyone is out of the house pretty much. Moonberry got...
Oh no, Moonberry got bopped by the ghost.
Game over for Moonberry. They'll be right outside the door though, so they haven't lost any real progress. This game's pretty generous. That's one of the reasons why we thought it would be good, is it's just a fair. It wants you to win eventually. It just gives you so many infinite continues and so many lives and lots of health on easy. So you should eventually be able to win. It's still nasty in some areas though. So it's not necessary. I wouldn't call it easy, but it doesn't fail you ever. It doesn't say you're done. Okay, so we have 2 players on Pete the Ghost. Eric's is pulling way ahead by clearing most of Space Mountain this quickly. It's awful fan room. I had a lot of trouble here too. It's so weird to get the momentum of the balloon to cooperate. It's blowing you back and forth, and you need to move upwards with it while not getting pushed into spikes and losing all your upwards.
Eric's making real quick progress. I mean, for him to have almost made it into the last area of stage 5 before anyone else has even gotten to stage 5 That's a pretty sizable lead.
Yep, Dolores Fred in second. Moonberry right behind, coming right in. Just a few seconds behind Dolores. This section that Eric's is dealing with right now is it's my least favorite non-threatening part of this. It's so boringly dumb. It's just a bunch of dudes being exactly where you don't want them over and over again. Time for the roller coaster.
Yeah, Eric's is heading into the roller coaster section. There is a skip in here, so we don't actually have to see this dumb level being done correctly.
I like what Moonberry's trying to do. It didn't work, but they were trying to slam down right through the switch and into the door while it was open, because the door stays open that long. Didn't work, but I like the trick, and I've seen their GIF doing it, I think. So yeah.
So the trick that we're going to see here with Eric's is going to try to actually clip through the floor, just a small amount. You'd get kicked out, but it's enough to trigger the screen boundary.
Oh, it did it.
Wow, just pretty much instantly.
So the that stage that mostly got skipped, honestly, it's really bad to play blind. It's got a bunch of hits that the coaster just falls in, and you fall with it, and you're doomed if that happens. If you're not already loading your balloon, it makes me think of like Battletoads Turbo Tunnel would be an understatement for what they've done here, because that at least warns you. These things just drop you directly, and you go with them. So just sneaking around all of that stuff and just doing it the speedrunner's way is a way simpler task. Rotating Pete here.
I'm having a hard time telling exactly, but I think Eric's is getting screwed out of a lot of hits in this fight because of the sort of weird geometry when the screen curves.
I didn't see like a reaction hit animation, but it looks like all of it counted because that was so fast.
Yeah. I just didn't see any of the animations you usually see when Pete gets hit, so I was kind of thinking that maybe they just weren't counting because of the rotation.
Yeah, it looked like it, but it was just so fast. Just flying through spikes is the trick to this mess. This huge castle.
Yeah, honestly, only taking one hit there seems way worth it.
Hidden switch. Found. Our other players are dealing with the teleport maze. I see Moonberry's almost done with it. I recognize this fan area as being towards the end. They're almost dead though.
Glumbaron's heading out of the ghost house. So Glumbaron will be heading into stage 5 before everyone else exits it. So that's pretty promising.
6-2 here was listed as one of the worst stages. It is ice zone. You throw a balloon and it turns into ice platforms. You don't need to do that though if you have health to tank the hits and you're fast enough. So that's what our players are doing. You do have a boss fight at the end of this before you get a checkpoint, and that's really painful. But I think we've mostly figured out that boss. It seemed like people had an idea of how to manipulate him to be not so bad.
Alright, so Eric's is moving into 6-2. This is one of the most trying levels according to our racers. It's a very challenging level to do efficiently. It's a challenging level to do casually too, I can say that now.
It is a long one. It's full of swimming. The swimming is the worst I've ever seen in a platformer, if I'm being real. I've never seen... Like, Atari games had better platforming for swimming than this game. This game really wants you to use the balloon. The balloon is great. Swimming... Just don't swim. Just don't swim at all.
Yeah, it seems like they sort of intentionally designed it so that the swimming would be bad, so that you would use the air balloon to move through the water.
I'd take La Milana swimming any day, except for getting out of the water in La Milana is worse. But the actual swimming is fine. It's just really bad.
What if La Milana had the balloon?
It might, for all I know. You spoiling me?
I'm just saying. What if there's a balloon in La Milana?
There might be. I'd be excited
Wouldn't
to find
be the weirdest thing. It looks kind of like Eric's is trying to see whether or not he can get the despawn on the door. We've seen before where if you go low enough on the screen, the door just despawns.
Seems a little risky. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
I like the tap on the button. That is the best thing about this speedrun. I love that. You can do it on every single button if you want to. It's so great.
Alright, so Glumbaron is into stage 5. Dolores, Fred, and Moonberry are at the end of stage 5, Fred having just beaten Twisty Pete.
Twisty Tappy. So this boss is really obnoxious and slow, but apparently if you stand exactly where Eric's is, maybe 1 pixel to the left, you can just get him to lean down and not take damage while he gets defeated. It's looped. We figured it out. It's done. The boss is over. One of the worst bosses in the game, hands down. Completed now. And that he's guarding the 6-2 checkpoint just makes it even worse. So here's 6-3. We had a lot of trouble doing this, but that's because we didn't have this diagonal flight down this well, I think, is part of it. But just knowing
even if I had been that good at doing that, I would have had no idea of where to actually do it.
Yeah. Ceiling will get you killed just as well as the floor being missed will. Here's the final boss. Eric's is going to be wrapping up here in 28 minutes or so. Looks like to me.
Yep.
Not
This
too
fight
far.
has 3 phases. The first one is you have to kill a whole bunch of his lackeys. I guess he's just got lots of them he needs to unload for tax write-off reasons. And then the next phase is he's going to actually show up and try to attack you, and when that doesn't work, he's going to start actually using magic. This whole thing was just a lights and smoke show, but it turns out by the end of it, he actually does have some magic up his sleeve.
You get a pot like that, anybody would. How could you not? All you gotta do is boil some stew. So the second phase, I don't know if I want to call it second phase. I feel like it transitioned to this, yeah. So he's just summoning 3 guys at once. They're all pretty useless, and he just stands there and smiles until you smack him.
He's either in the bottom left or bottom right every time, and when you hit him, he moves to somewhere else. Again, still bottom left or bottom right.
Phase 3 will be starting up anytime here, and he's going to add some wind, which is a really obnoxious element, I think, for the speedrun to deal with. Here's the wind. So it just pushes you violently to the left or right, away from him. And usually,
so I think Eric's is playing it. I think he's playing it safe for the race here, because you would probably want to spawn as close or try to get that hit. But if you miss it, you definitely take a hit because you get pushed into one of the minions.
Yeah, you need to hit him in this very tiny window. You're being launched backwards, so you have to throw the balloon forward despite that. And there's only just a handful of frames, probably very few, where you throw it and he's not immune to damage and he still gets hit by the balloon.
Yeah, you can throw it a little bit too early and he won't be vulnerable yet, and if you throw it a little too late, you'll obviously just miss based on the timing. But that was the last hit for Eric, so that was about a 29-16 we saw there.
Yep, they started slow, so I feel like 29 minutes is about what they got. Nice work.
Yeah.
Already clear. I'm going to go ahead and switch audio over to... Who's the second here? It looks like Moonberry or Fred. One of those two is, but I can't figure out which one. I think Moonberry is.
Looks like Moonberry's just barely ahead right now.
Pretty close. Nice work, Eric's. Current world record holder. Looks like they have a really good time going on every time they play this. They won our first race as well.
For clarity, I mean, Eric's run right there was not a PB for Eric's, but it was still faster than anyone else's PB, so...
Yeah, really good time. Like, that's the time we weren't sure that could be achieved when we started this. We weren't sure if we would get below 30 minutes or not. And here we are consistently doing it. The world record is really less than 10 minutes off of robot program to do it.
I'm interested to see the time either improve further or watch that run eventually, because to imagine with a time that good, there's probably relatively few mistakes, and it's probably pretty good movement, so...
Yep, I think that door despawning is probably in there as one of the things that was different from that run we just watched.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's something that's consistent, or whether or not it just happened sort of arbitrarily. I feel like we saw that in our race 2 weeks ago.
I feel like it probably is consistent, but also risky because you have to fall just right. You have to fall close to the bottom, but not die. And I don't think that in a race they want to risk that, maybe. It's just, you probably have to be really low to the ground. Moonberry's hitting the ceiling and running into what we were running into with this stage. Not perfectly flying is the end of you. Yeah, we haven't had a game on Speed Bump yet that hasn't been completely smoked, right? Like, which one's the least smoked of our games? It's hard to say. Let me look at our list. It's all up there on the, if you go to speedbump.run and go to the page that says, featured games, you'll see, a list of all the ones we've done. So we start with Keith Courage and Skulljagger. Those were destroyed. Ophidia, Tsute Hakun, Rising Zan. Rising Zan probably was the least smoked, but it was still destroyed. It was still way faster, but there was a pretty good run of that game.
Alright, so Fred took a little bit to get into the dragon fight, and so that set Fred back a little bit. Moonberry is now taking on the Pete fight, so still in phase 1, dealing with all the minions.
Cultist Pete is here. He's just got a bunch of the same guy in skull outfits. There's a countdown, the countdown that's on the bottom of the screen here for the show is actually on speedbump.run, so if you ever want information on that, the website is the go-to for all that kind of stuff. There's the Discord channel you can ask as well, and we typically do try to end it at the end of the month, but months aren't 4 weeks long. None of them.
Right.
They don't sync up, so the website's where you want to go to make sure you have time left. There are 6 days left, and the website I always keep accurate, especially on the time left and the payout information and stuff like that. The fine details, but the Discord will also provide information. That clock is it's a browser source. It's being pulled directly from the website, so.
Moonberry's going for the more aggressive hits on this last phase of Pete. You know, honestly, Moonberry has a lot of health to play with, so it's not that big of a deal, but still fairly consistently taking a hit every single time because of how difficult it is to actually pull this off.
Yeah, I think even if you do it, sometimes you're taking that hit. Like, that right there was fine. Like, that didn't lose any time, so it's perfectly acceptable as long as you have health to throw. Moonberry done at 33:40.
Which, at least according to the information we have available, is a PB.
Yeah, that's extremely good work for Moonberry. And they took a lot of deaths on 6-3 there. They took at least a game over's worth of lives trying to get 6-3 done quickly, so they have room to improve yet on their own PB, it looks like.
Yep. Moonberry says that is, in fact, a personal best, so congrats to Moonberry for that personal best.
Nice work.
It's going to be pretty tight, but it's possible that we see a personal best from Fred, and I would argue fairly likely we'll see a personal best from Glumbaron as well. I mean, I don't want to jinx Glumbaron right here at the end. 6-2 and 6-3 are definitely the real tough ones, but we have 20 minutes to go away from PB.
Pulling Glumbaron's audio because I don't have any from Fred.
Okay.
Glumbaron's dealing with the nastiest blind part of the game. The most deadly.
6-2 and 6-3 they're just rough. They're just rough stages.
2-2 with the wind is obnoxious, but it's not dangerous. This is a game over place. You just keep dying here.
There's a lot of spots here where even if you do what you think you should do, even if you do the right movement, you can just throw yourself off of a ledge. There's a lot of opportunities to take too much damage or get stuck underwater for too long. Oh, that was actually a really interesting move that Glumbaron did there. Seemingly just trying to save their own skin, but I would say it worked.
That pit following those 3 gremlins is instant death. It's super dangerous.
Yeah, it's a real troll setup there. You see the enemies with some headroom and you think I'll just fly over them, and you definitely fly over them into a pit.
Yeah, I think if you're not doing something that involves being stunned by them, you're probably dead. Eric's got stunned by them. I watched that just now, so they definitely played it safe, I would say, by taking that damage. I don't see much of a way to balloon past them and still do the pits. Here we have a bunch of platforms coming out of the wall. It looks like, yeah, okay, Glumbaron is trying to glide past them. You can use them as platforms, but the balloon is so much faster than Mickey, even when he's running. And the running is sensitive. It's weird. It doesn't work as well as it should with double tapping forward.
Yeah, it would be really nice, considering the game allows you to assign a second button to jump, if it just allowed you to assign a button to run.
Glumbaron's at the 6-2 boss, so if they have this down, I think they're going to be clearing this with their own PB. A lot of progress on this race. It looks like it's coming down to just number of attempts for a lot of these runners getting a real good time. They all seem to have it down really well. It's not too long. It's a fairly long game, but I mean these guys have it down to 30 minutes. That's pretty fast. I'm so used to this length of the past runs being my measurement of just 90 minutes commitments that anything less than that feels fast to me now. I'm all in on it. Glumbaron has 2 lives left to beat this boss. If they don't beat this boss, they're going to have a real bad time because they're going to be set back really far. No checkpoint on this mini-boss. They're doing the thing where they take damage to lock them in place.
The reality is that this fight actually isn't all that hard to do casually. You can, if you're willing to do it a little bit more slowly, you can really play this one very safe.
Yeah, I feel like not taking damage here is pretty easy because he shoots at the ground way over on the left side and you just stand in the middle. He will never shoot there. Well, not necessarily, but you just move away from his shot, you get him. Glum's trying not to die now.
Yeah, so now Glumbaron has done the strat. Rough.
Probably really close to killing it there. This boss is lousy.
Yeah. If you've got the health for it, then I can definitely see the value of doing this this stun lock strat of keeping his head to the ground, but it seems pretty risky, especially if you're prone to getting a little bit of those anxieties under duress. You know you're playing a DPS race, trying to finish him off before he finishes you.
Yeah, it's not going very well. So if Mickey gets hit, he loses his charge shot, and so it's been 4 hits for 1 damage so far here. I think Glum's better off not trying it at this point because they got 4 health left. It's gonna be a safety strat.
I mean, doing this fight safe isn't really terrible. You just have to wait for his head to go all the way down, because hitting the dragon doesn't do anything. You're actually trying to hit the guy on the top of the dragon.
Yeah, is it? I mean, he's obviously reacting to the player's position, so is it even random, or was he not lowering his head because nobody ever went to the right? Because it sure seems...
I think that it seems like his movements are random unless you're like right under the head, and then it comes down to try to hurt you. He definitely will go into a loop of moving pretty high up to moving all the way down so you can take a hit.
I've seen,
which seems stupid. If I'm riding a dragon, I'm telling him to keep his head really high so I don't get hit.
I'd be interested in the AI script of this fight. A thing I've seen for like Final Fantasy VII bosses and how they react. This guy has some specific things going on. Glumbaron is locked in a checkpoint, so they're gonna finish this, I think. 6-3 is not as bad, even though it's still not fun or nice. It's just not what was just conquered. Are they taking a game over maybe on purpose? Probably not, though. That was just 6-3 and all of its riskiness.
I mean, if this turns out to be a pretty smooth 6-3 followed by a smooth boss fight, we could be looking at like a 10-minute PB here for Glum. To my knowledge, 55 is Glum's PB, so...
Yeah, I gotta tell you, none of the Pete fights are tough. Not a single one of them. The hardest one is probably the one where he throws alligators at you, because it's not him that's fighting you. Or the cowboy one, because the hitbox is a little weird, but I mean... It's hard to lose those with 8 health. Glumbaron's rushing this stage pretty hard.
I think once you're at this point, you're kind of just trying to finish it. It's probably pretty easy to play it a little too aggressive.
I feel like the first half of this is fairly friendly because the towers are always... You just hit the tower, and if you fall straight down from where the tower is, you're going to land on a platform.
Oh, great. Smooth movement. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
he's into the boss fight.
Staying in the middle and just doing the upwards curve shot works.
Okay, so unless Glumbaron makes a liar out of me and really has some issues with this fight, which I mean it's possible, we're looking at a big PB for Glumbaron.
I think it's incredibly unlikely. I don't think I've seen Cultist Pete beat anybody. He's just a bunch of like if you're low on health, you just take it slow and you still win. This is really a simple thing to avoid damage on if you just recognize where the skeletons are and where his wind's gonna come in from, consistently away from him. This first part is just skeletons, and they don't. I mean, they're so hazard free. Never know with a game like this what the boss is going to be when it's this hard to get around, but I think most of the difficulty is
moving into
platforming.
phase 2. Phase 2 is really no trouble. It's just finding Pete and hitting him. That's all the challenge there is to this phase. The third phase can deal some pretty consistent damage though, so he just has to either play it very safe or win the DPS race, you know?
I appreciate that Scrooge is featured in-game, but he's not on the box art. And Pete is having a blast, kidnapping those friends. We're on a giant barrel. Also, Daisy, I think, was here, and she's also not on the box art. They just forgot those characters. I think that Mickey forgives him in the end scene, but you ever notice how Mickey's ears are satellite dishes? Look at that shading.
There we go.
43-20.
23.
Something like that. Here's your password in case you wanted to watch the ending on your own time. Just have a good ending screen. There's your pass for that. Everyone here seemed like they either got a PB or got damn close to it. Really good race. Nice work, everybody. That's something what I like to see on week 4 here. That was crazy.
Yeah, that was an awesome race. Everyone except for Fred got a PB, and Fred was actually very close to a PB. That was like 40 seconds off of PB or so.
Extremely good work. This game is excellent choice. Nice work, Author Blues. I'm glad to see everyone crushing it too. That's really good work. Eric's currently in the lead. You still have 6 days left. You want to compete. It's a fun game anyway. I would recommend trying it out. See how you do. 2 hours.
Yeah, we have several people who have times that could definitely come down far enough really soon.
If you haven't played it yet, 2 hours is probably more than enough time to beat it unless you have a lot of trouble with something. It is a game that wants you to eventually win, so you will, especially if you looked at the speedruns here and take anything from them at all, you'll probably do great. I wouldn't try to rush it too much on your first go, though. It'd be a bit rough, but it's a fun game for sure.
Definitely.
Just a couple nasty stages, but whenever they give you as many lives as this one does, and as many continues and checkpoints, I don't feel too bad dealing with that kind of difficulty.
Well, I hope we see some more people taking a crack at it. I don't think that this one's probably going to be too difficult to catch up to. If you wanted to get in on it, a week is probably more than enough time to learn well enough to get into top 3.
Yep. Top 3 is getting paid out this time, and next time as well. I think that's going to be the normal. Unless I say otherwise, that's probably going to be the way this goes. So $50, $20, and $10 to the top 3. In 6 days and 2 hours, we'll know who that is. That's Saturday night at midnight is when that is. And then Sunday, next week, we will have a new game for you. My pick, it's ready to go. I'm confirming that it's the right choice, but it looks good. I've been waiting to do it, so exciting times.
Can't wait.
Thanks for joining me, Author Blues.
Of course. Take care.